let's continue with the next topic. After we solve any possible power, the next operation that we need to obtain is multiplication. We already have solved several of them, so this is going to be a little more simple. Let's use the speed of the light, for example. Times any other number. Okay, the first thing before we do one multiplication, always step 0, breathe, relax. Step 1, simplify. Let's simplify every single term that we have in part of the multiplication. We already have in scientific notation and the most basic units in the international system. We have the number in scientific notation and the most basic. So it's very simple. So the first step to do is use the properties of commutativity. So change the position and make groups numbers with numbers, powers with powers, and units with units. So I'm going to make number 3 times 9.46. We don't have more numbers. We can move the powers of 10. And finally, play with the units and units. So we have meters per second that multiply meters. Solving, in this case, the multiplication, 3 times 9.46, we are going to get that this is 28.38. Multiplication with the same base, we are going to add the exponent. And for units, see, we have a fraction times an integer. If you remember, the main rule for fraction, integers divided by 1, and we can multiply numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. So meters times meters and seconds times 1. In this case, we can see a plus 15 is going to give me 23. And see, we have the same base, meters and meters. Remember that when we don't have nothing, there is one number 1 hidden there. So we have meters 1 plus 1. It's a multiplication. And seconds times 1, we don't write that 1, so we can keep like seconds. We can keep expressing 23 power meters squared per second. We can keep the expression like that, it's correct. Or simplify a little bit more. Play with your decimal point. Remember always that we use this, use your inverse ruler of powers of 10 to help you like a guide and avoid one mistake. So we are already in 23. So if we keep going, 24 and keep going. 23 in this direction is going to be 24. 2.838 times 10 to the 24 meters squared per second. This is going to give me the best answer for this expression. Let's try something that is going to look a little more complicated, but you are going to see it's not. Let's try, for example, this 0.000000 and 0.00071 nanometers per second times 16,000 times 10 to the 9 seconds. Okay, so step 0, breathe, relax. Step number 1, simplify. Whenever we have many zeros, let's try to express in scientific notation. That's going to be the most simple. 7.1 is going to be for this part of the expression, and I'm going to start to move my decimal point from here. Remember that we start at 0, so -1, -2, -3, -6, -9, 10, 11, so times 10 to the negative 11. Now prefix, let's see, we have a prefix here, so part of the simplification is, instead to use the prefix, use the power of 10 associated to that. So we have times 10 to the negative 9, that is for nano. In words, times 10 to the negative 9 billion. Don't forget to practice. Okay, what about the other term? We have a lot of zeros. Let's try to express in scientific notation again. 1.6, and it's going to be up to you if you want to start from 0 here or counting from 9 here. Now, only to change, I'm going to start to using from 9 here, my decimal point. So 9 is going to be in this part, so if I keep moving, it's going to be 10, 11, 12, 13. So times 10 to the 13 power. And I have the unit second. This is already in the most simple expression, scientific notation, and one of the basic units in the international system. Now, let's try for the first term. 7.1, we need to identify, we have an integer and a fraction. So the numerator of the fraction can go out to affect, or we can move this one inside, it's up to you. And we have meters per second. Okay, we're in the good track. This is going to be multiplication with the same base. We add the exponents. -11 plus -9 is negative, and we have meters per second. This is basically we are going to keep carrying. It's already waiting until we have the most simple expression. -11 minus 9 minus 20, and we have meters per second, and 1.6 times 10 to the 13 seconds. Okay, whenever we have scientific notation and the most basic units, no powers, scientific notation, the most basic units, no powers, we can apply the multiplication. Make as the previous exercise, numbers with numbers, powers and powers, and units with units. Remember that also your calculator can help you to make the multiplication, all this times all this, using the special buttons for scientific notation. 7.1 times 1.6. We have multiplications with the same base, and units with units, meters per second times seconds. I'm going to be writing here. So 7.1 times 1.6 is going to be 11.36. Now multiplication with the same base, we add the exponent times 10 minus 20 plus 13. And C, we have a fraction times an integer. Remember that we divide the integer by 1, and we can apply numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So it's going to be meters seconds times 1. This is going to give me 1.36 times 10 to the 7, negative 7. And we have meter seconds divided by seconds. See that we have seconds and seconds is the same. So whenever we have division with the same base, we subtract. I can say we cancel, but let's demonstrate this. And also I have negative 7. I can keep moving my decimal point. I am in minus 7, so minus 6 is going to be moving to the left, and I have meters times seconds 1 minus 1, 1.136 minus 6 meters seconds to the 0. Any number to the 0 is 1, so it's not necessary to write it. We can keep our expression like that, or even one extra step, we can replace for a prefix whenever we have a possible prefix. And in this case we have micrometers. It's exactly the same. Now, let's try with something a little more complicated. In a previous video, we already were solving 0.0003 times 10 to the 4 nanoseconds per meter to the 5th power, and also I think we were solving something like that, kilometers per second used to the 4th power. We know it's a multiplication, but also we have powers. As always, step 0, breathe, relax. Step number 1, try to simplify. The simplification is get rid of zeros and prefix from inside to outside. If I simplify this, I'm going to start to move using 4 in that direction, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So it's not even necessary, but I'm going to keep that. Nano, identify the prefix that we have, associate. Nano means times 10 to the negative 9, and we have seconds per minute. Seconds per meter, sorry. And we have 7.8 times 10 to the 2, and we have another prefix here, kilo, times 10 to the 3, and we have meters per second. And we did that simplification. This affects only the numerator. 3 times 10 to the negative 9. We have seconds per meter, the 5th power. And we have here 7.8 times 10. This affects only the numerator, so it's multiplications with the same base. We add the exponent 2 plus 3. We have meters per second. Okay. This is finally a number and the units, the most simple in scientific notation. Perfect. We cannot multiply yet. We have in the middle a power, so we need to apply the power for all this. Remember that this affects the number, the power, and the units. So 3 to the 5 power is 10 to the negative 9 times 5. Powers and powers we multiply, and seconds, meters to the 5th power times what we have here. I'm still working in this part. 2 plus 3 is 5 meters per second to the 4th power. We have, this is 243 times 10 negative 45. We have seconds 5, meters 5. So we already have the first part. This one, the same effect to the number, the power effect to the power of 10, and also to the unit. If I try to simplify more this before we go to the multiplication, try to do it. This is 2.43 times 10 to the negative 43. Remember, my decimal point is hidden here, so, and use the inverse ruler of power. We are already in minus 45, so minus 44 is going to be minus 43. Seconds 5, meters 5. 7.8 to the 4th power is 3701.5056. And powers with powers, diagonals and multiplication, 5 times 4. And we have powers with powers. We have ones hidden there. 1 times 4, and seconds 1 times 4, 4. We keep simplifying. This one is in the most simple. It's basically waiting for the other term. Five times 4, 20. Meters 4, seconds 4. We can do the multiplication like that, or simplify a little bit more. So it's going to be more simple, 2 times 3 instead of 2 times 3701. So I'm going to simplify one more time in the second term. (3.701556) times 10. Okay, so 20 is telling me where is my decimal point in the inverse ruler of power. So we have 1, 2, 20 is here. If I'm going to move in that direction, 21, 22, and keep going. So we have 20, 21, 22, 23. We have meters 4, seconds 4. So perfect. We have scientific notation, the unit and power of 10, the basic units in the international system, scientific notation, the basic units in the international system. So we can make the groups, numbers with numbers, powers with powers, and units with units. 2.43 times 3.701556 times 10 to the number with number. Now the powers times 10 to the minus 43, that multiplies times 10 to the 23rd power. No, now units with units. So we have seconds to the fifth power, meters to the fifth power, times meters to the fourth power, seconds to the fourth power. Let's introduce in your calculator this, or directly all that part, something that your calculator can do. 2.43 times 3.7015056. I'm going to start to round here. 8.994, and I start to round 7 times 10. We have multiplication with the same base. We add 43 plus 23, and multiplication of fraction, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So we have seconds 5, meters 4, or if you want we can change seconds 4, meters 5. It's going to be more simple to identify if we have the same base. 8.9947 let's see, times 10 minus 43 plus 23, we are going to have 20 negative, and division with the same base we subtract, so we have seconds 5 minus 4, and meters 4 minus 5. Remember, we subtract the power that is in the denominator. At the end, this is going to give me times 10 to the negative 20. So seconds 5 minus 4 is 1. Meters is time 4 minus 5 is minus 1. We can express like this, or we can express like 8.9947 times 10 to the negative 20 seconds per meter. That is basically how we solve multiplication. So remember, the procedure, try to simplify whatever is inside, get rid of any prefix until you have a power of 10, a scientific notation, and the basic unit in the international system. Next, we try to go outside. If we have a power, let's solve the power until, let's simplify until you have again the most simple number with the basic units. That happens for every single term. Then we can solve the multiplication. In multiplication, we make groups, numbers with numbers, powers of 10 with powers of 10, and units with units. We simplify and we obtain an answer. That is the procedure whenever we have to deal with multiplication of physical quantities. It will be all for this part.